Perloff really was giving you a lot of grief about not being in Dublin right now. What's your excuse?
Trust me, no one's more upset with me on that front than me, as I have had to look at not only my parents having the time of their lives, but I feel like every day I open up social media, I see another one of my friends or former classmates who's decided to make the trip. And I decided, hey, you know what? Got some stuff with work I need to get done here. My parents have dogs that are older, don't want to kennel them. I'll be the good son and come to South Bend and be one of the only people at Notre Dame not going to the game. And now as we get closer to game day, I am full of regret, and I haven't had this much FOMO since college.
Well, I mean, it's only a 5.5-hour flight. I understand there are dogs there, but why don't you just, right after this interview, drive to the airport and get going?
You can find a responsible college kid somewhere to watch the dogs.
I don't know if those words together in a sentence have ever made sense or been true, but I'm going to have to start thinking about something around here. Call a babysitter because I'm getting desperate.
Mike Golic Jr., DraftKings football analyst, going to have a new show with your dad on the DraftKings network, which we absolutely love. Golic Sr. and Golic Jr. together again. Okay, so when was the last time that Notre Dame had a quarterback with this much potential? Like Sam Hartman as a transfer has people excited in a different kind of way.
Yeah, you know what? I think, and the way I've phrased it is, had a quarterback with this much certainty, because with Sam, it's really not potential. You know, we've had guys like my buddy Dane Christ, who was a classmate of mine here, other big-time prospects, Deshaun Kaiser, who have had talent, who have had ability. But Sam comes in, and I think for the first time really since, you know, Brady Quinn, Jimmy Clausen were there, where you had a returning starter that you felt like you could count on in critical moments. And I think that's the thing I'm most excited about. And this Navy game will be a great test, because for Notre Dame fans who remember last year's game against Navy, got out to an early lead and then got blitzed all over the place in the second half. And we watched the quarterback and the offense kind of turtle up. This year, can a quarterback with veteran presence, can a quarterback with all the experience of Sam Hartman help get them out of some of those situations through just the sheer force of experience and, of course, a lot of the ability and good looks and all the other things?
Yeah, it's annoying. Well, what about the impact of losing offensive coordinator Tommy Rees?
Yeah, listen, there's no way to understate it. I think Tommy is a weapon as an offensive coordinator, and I think we're going to see that, his imprint on an Alabama offense that's pretty certain of itself but has great personnel, and Tommy will do a good job in. But that being said, Jared Parker comes over. He spent some time with Neil Brown at West Virginia, and while he wasn't always calling plays, I remember getting to meet with them. I called more than a few West Virginia games when he was the coordinator, and always enjoyed the way he thought about football. And he walks into an offense now that's got a pretty solid identity up front in the offensive line, in the running back room with Audric Estime. And so they've got natural strengths to lean on while they're trying to work out some of the things that can and should be different, because you've got a quarterback like Sam Hartman. You've got a young skill group there. You've got some guys that are waiting to kind of have their moment in college football, that their lives are going to be made a lot easier by the presence of a veteran quarterback who's more able to push the ball downfield than you were last year. I think Tommy had to purposely call plays a certain way because of what Notre Dame was limited by at the quarterback spot last year. And I think Jared Parker in year one as the coordinator at Notre Dame is going to have a lot freer access down the field. And you guys know, when you can push the ball downfield and threaten teams in that way, it makes all the rest of the things you want to do on offense a lot easier, just by nature of that one guy at quarterback being a difference maker.
Mike Golic Jr., DraftKings football analyst, joining us. You want to watch youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. How about the head coach for Marcus Freeman? Tenure started out, I mean, a little rocky. Couple losses there that were not expected. Marshall, you know, what's the biggest change or improvement that you want to see from the head coach in year two?
Yeah, you know what? And I think this has been reflected by Marcus, because he even said himself in year one, he was talking about what you've got to do to win a national championship, the thing you come to Notre Dame for. And he said going into year two, man, that's a culmination of a lot of little things that you got to do right along the way. And so his goal was to focus more on the here and now, to focus on winning the day a little bit more. And I think for Notre Dame, that's really what it's got to be this year. Not can you get up for the big games, because we know Ohio State, Clemson, USC, everyone's going to be up for those games. Those are going to be college game day level games, big time matchups where even fans are hyped for that one. It'll be some of the best tickets in the sport. You don't got to worry about your team getting up for that. I want to know, are you going to be prepared and leveled up for NC State, for Duke, for Pitt. Some of these trap games on the schedule of quality teams that can get overlooked when you've got that many big bads on the schedule. And so I think for Notre Dame, the challenge is going to be to reset the floor. Towards the end of Brian Kelly's tenure, that's what Notre Dame had changed the most. They were winning double-digit games for 5 straight seasons because they no longer lost the games on their schedule like that. They won the games they were supposed to win and then worried about getting to the high-end matchups once they got there. If in year 2 Marcus Freeman can reset the floor there, then that's a double-digit win football team, I firmly believe.
I feel like some people are counting Notre Dame as 4-0 already headed into that game against Ohio State. It's Navy, Tennessee State, and NC State, Central Michigan. Based on what you're just saying, it sounds like you think that the coach will have them ready for those 4 games. Do you think they have a great chance, I would assume, of entering that Ohio State game undefeated?
They do. And listen, this is smart scheduling because the last time around when they went to Dublin, Ireland, I was playing on the team, and we came back after that trip and immediately played Purdue. So we played a Big Ten opponent and I think beat them by 2 points. We were markedly better than them as the season would bear out, but coming back from that, so many things change. And so scheduling a Tennessee State after that, we know that game means a lot more than just what it is on the schedule there. There's a lot of good reasons behind doing that game. NC State will be a great test. That's an offensive coordinator there, and Robert Anai that they're familiar with there, a quarterback in Brennan Armstrong they saw at Virginia a couple years ago. And so all of those, I think, work well laying out the schedule as opposed to last year where you had to start off. First one out of the box was Ohio State in week 1 on the road. This team gets a little bit more of a chance to find itself. And it's not necessarily that I'm penciling them in to be undefeated, but it does lay out for a team with this kind of talent and the caliber of players returning at the right spots to definitely be in a good position. And I think know a little bit more about themselves before they go into a matchup with a top 5 team.
Mike Golic Jr. is joining us. We just got about 2 minutes left. Gojo, it's, a lot of crazy, conference realignment news in the last couple days. I mean, what's it going to take for Notre Dame to join a conference?
Probably the eventual super conference that forms in all of this. I think Notre Dame, we'll wait and see if the NBC deal gets hammered out and they get a new deal there that's near market value that we're seeing for some of the big conferences, because right now they've got a path to the playoff through expansion, and we'll see if that gets even easier if the playoff format's reviewed and they want to do away with some of those automatic qualifiers for the 6 highest ranked conference champions, since we just lost one of the conferences ostensibly this year. So I think because of that, it's going to be until they reorganize again at the highest level on this.
All right, Mike, you're also obviously great on NFL. I started the show just a house on fire about how good the Pittsburgh Steelers looked in preseason. Am I making the classic preseason overreaction?
No, he said they're a Super Bowl contender.
I said you got to at least look at them as maybe a Super Bowl team. You spent some time with the Steelers. Am I just going way too crazy about Kenny Pickett's preseason?
I think so, to call them a Super Bowl contender, but they can absolutely be a much improved team this year. Some of those offensive pieces, George Pickens especially, making a big jump. It looks like he's taken all that ability and putting it on display each and every week. They unfortunately just play in what could be the toughest division in football. And I don't know if I see the AFC North being a 3 playoff league. And that's what it would probably take to get the Steelers in.
Do they have a good line like they used to with Big Ben? Because I know the line sort of took a turn south in the last few years. Is it possible to be back to protecting Pickett?
Not quite at that level, but they've improved a lot from where they were in the last couple of years. Part of that is personnel, and part of that's also just time. But that has drastically improved, and I think is a big part of why Kenny Pickett's going to be in a position to do more of what we saw at Pitt right there next door on the south side.
All right, Mike Golic, I looked it up for you. Chicago O'Hare, you got a flight to Dublin. It leaves tonight at 8:30. You can do this, man. We want to get a dog sitter. We want to see you on the sidelines tomorrow.
I'll send you guys the Instagram video chronicling my mad dash journey where I inevitably get delayed and just wander back home.
You're going to love watching the game from that Applebee's at O'Hare, that one that's right there in the front.